All right, so we should be back and going again. Oh, damn. All right, let's see if third time's the charm here. All right. Wait, you said you were watching something. What were you watching? Oh, the Astros game.
Yankees Astros, yeah.
Yeah. Are they? Did you get to watch much of game one? Lord and I went to bed ahead of time.
Oh, for them, no, not really. I only saw Giancarlo's home run,
Yeah,
which was ridiculous.
yeah, he's so good every time.
Like off the bat, I was like, oh, double into the game, and then oh, it went over the fence.
Yeah,
And I was like one off the bat. I was like, Jesus Christ, man, that was a nice and easy swing.
yeah. He. The thing that's amazing to me is that like left center field area there is so huge.
Yeah,
I
even like
somebody.
I forget how much of like the ballpark it takes up, especially like the outfield wall.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody. Who was it? Springer, I guess. Springer in center field for the
Usually,
Astros,
yeah.
and so he ran a ball down like up against that far fence in left center. It was just like he probably ran friggin' 150 feet, 200 feet to go get that. I mean, it was like ridiculous, but it just hung up long enough that
Was it like
like totally crazy.
was it like Bernardino's?
Yeah, well, no, not that good. It was in that area
Oh,
though. It was in that area. It just wasn't like
yeah,
all the way back
like,
up against that wall.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just
That wall is so far away from center,
it's crazy how far that is.
and then it could like go over the bandbox, but like still land in fair and like in the field
That's
if
the
it like hits off the
crazy
wall.
part. That it could go
Because the
like
thing is like
over that wall
the
and
20, 30
land.
feet off that.
Well, who?
Oh no, it's cut off. Yeah, okay, so it really can't.
Oh, okay.
I
So
just saw it.
who was it? There was somebody who caught a ball out there off of his backhand. It was somebody who was an infielder for the Nats that ended up.
Oh,
Who was it?
Kevin Brand,
Oh yeah, it was Franzen. It was
Kevin Brand.
one of the coolest plays ever.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really cool.
It's like so bizarre. I could have watched that replay 100 times.
Oh, I know.
All right, so I think we're actually live. I've got the link tweeted out so we can kind of start up all over again. But it is
All right.
it is pretty amazing that we are here and talking about this the way we are right now. Like the Nationals about to play a game three at home, up to well, let's just a game three at home in the NLCS, and let's just stop there and appreciate that, like that they could be playing in the National League Championship Series after kind of the playoff situations we've had recently. But they're about to play a game three in the NLCS at home, up to nothing. Like, holy shit, Johan.
And pretty much every Nats fan's feeling at least somewhat great about our situation right now. I mean, I know there's some like fans that are always expecting the worst, so they probably can't feel like perfect right now. But everybody's got to be at least above 50% right now, and like the happiness factor and the way they've played so far, and that's pretty crazy to think about considering the last time we spoke on this show because a lot has happened.
Right. I mean, when you've
Time.
it's been such a short period of time, and it's kind of amazing to think about what we've gone through, and what the Nats fan base has gone through over the course of the last like week, right? Like it's not like it's not like they they have just been playing and then having a bunch of off days and stuff like that, and kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like it's kind of insane to me to think that like the number of days that they've had off makes it feel a little bit more like a regular season. And I was wondering if that had anything to do with what they kind of the way that they've been playing, right? And the way that it's been feeling for us. It hasn't been like previous postseasons where it's been like 4 days off before they play their first game. It just kind of has that regular season cadence to it a little bit.
Yeah, whenever we made it as a division winner, it always just felt like those 5 days off between the last game of the season and the first game of the NLDS was just torture. And I always thought about how if it felt that way for us fans, I can't imagine how it felt for the players and coaches because it's just not baseball. Even the All Star break's only 4 days,
Right, exactly.
and there's still baseball on. It's not like, but like nobody's doing anything. You get to watch cards, obviously, but it just felt like that break always really halted the season, and they really haven't had that. And going off of what Craig was saying last show, where he was really appreciating the Nats' 2 weeks of baseball, including that last week of the season where they just went on a 8 game tear to end the season. They've only had a day off between games, so it's felt like the NLDS was just another series at home, and then they're just playing in a new city, and these first 2 games have not felt like NLCS games or like how we expected an NLCS game to feel, I guess, because it just felt like another April afternoon game during the week against another pretty good team that just happens to be going on. And you just happen to like check out.
Yeah, exactly. And you just have the benefit of, Annabelle and Max coming into this series and just pitching two of the best playoff appearances of all time. I mean, it's insane to even say that, but that's what they did, right?
Yeah, there's no other way you could really put that. It started with Animals, and we were texting about it, and Craig threw out best postseason pitching appearance ever, and neither of us could really agree. And then I kind of called. I said that Max would um, make the Cardinals wish they were facing Animals still when he started, and I feel like he got pretty close. He was pretty much grade A, maybe A minus, Max Scherzer the entire game, and those 2 performances back to back is kind of just. I was joking with Joe and Craig, like kind of gently placed us into the NLCS situation as best they could, um, because I think I know at least I expected it to be a lot more nerve wracking off the get go. I didn't expect them to be ready to go. Like usually our game ones are pretty awful. I was kind of expecting a dud with Anwar pitching, maybe something might go wrong, but it just hasn't felt that way. And I'm really appreciative of those two because this has been probably the 2 best ways these 2 games could have gone in terms of Nats fans and their psyche right now.
Oh, totally. And I think part of that, and that's kind of a perfect transition because I think part of the reason it felt that way was because of the way that Game Five happened. Like, going into a Game Five, all three of us expected the Nats to win that game in some way, right? We all kind of expected that somehow the Nats were going to pull that out. I don't know if any of us could have possibly imagined the way that it turned out, obviously. But the one thing that we all kind of agreed on was that the Nats were going to move on. But once again, in a Game Five, the Nats came in and just they couldn't get offense going. It kind of looked a little sad at the beginning. They got to, the Cardinals got to. I'm sorry, the Dodgers got to Strauss early, and it kind of felt like certainly they weren't in a huge hole down 3-0 after 2 innings, but that was definitely the concern that like, oh gosh, this could get tough. That could this could end up not going the way that we were thinking. And I would say by that like fourth or fifth inning, I was starting to not have bad feelings, just kind of like this might not turn out the way I didn't think it was going to be a blowout, but I thought it might not turn out the way that we were hoping. But I still had this weird residual confidence that I think I think I texted you and Craig about that. Like I think we're going to be all right. Like I still felt okay, but it just didn't feel quite the same as previous Game Fives.
It Yeah, it felt different. Well, first of all, because they usually go ahead early in
Yeah,
the
that's true. That's a
five
good
and
point.
let it go. So it kind of felt backwards in that way. The other thing was, well, I'm going to give myself props here because my prediction was that Strauss would give up a home run for the first time in his playoff season, in his postseason career. I didn't think it would be three, but I'm glad that they're all solo shots. And I am very surprised that they only scored those 3 home runs in the first 2 innings, and that was it for the rest of the game. And then, because Walker Bueller was money, I did say they were going to scratch one off him. They did, and then I'm sure we'll get to Kershaw in a second, but I did call two off Kershaw. But I
Yeah,
didn't think that they obviously who's going to call a grand slam at the end of the game. Nobody's going to call that.
yeah. Oh God, no
And
way.
I think you're being a little modest because I'm pretty sure you just put your foot down and said the Nats are moving on. Book it.
Yeah, I actually while you were talking,
I think you put it a little like,
I went
come
back.
on.
I went back and scrolled back, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that I said this, but I don't want to lie. I said this: the Washington Nationals baseball team is going to win this game. Full stop. And both your and Craig's reaction was just wow, Joe. So I do feel pretty good about going ballsy on that one.
Yeah, because I mean, it. I was watching the game with Meg at Nats Park, and he was kind of turned. I think it was about the fourth or fifth. So it's 3-1, and she's like, "This sucks." I'm like, "Yeah, this isn't. They're not doing too well." And Bueller's kind of shutting them down, and then Kershaw's getting loose, and we're like, "Oh, like this might not. They might just be. This might be just short of where they need to get to." But 3-1 is really when I was like, "Oh, the wild card game was 3-1. Yes, we're on the road this time, but it was the same score." And I just didn't think, dude, off Kershaw.
Yeah,
Like I now that like obviously we all know that Rendon and Soto went back to back. Kershaw only ended up throwing 6 pitches, which is absolutely ridiculous.
totally.
But for that to happen off Kershaw in that moment is literally like stuff with legend. I think
Yeah.
I tweeted that
It,
today. Like it just you can't write that. Oh, your 3 hitter and 4 hitter can come up and just do what they're supposed to do and just hit home runs off of one of the best pitchers in the game.
right. And the first two batters that he faced, right? Like he came out and just like and he threw, yeah, like you said, six, like no, basically no pitches. It was home run, home run. It's like, whoa, hold on, what's happening here? Like
Oh
you.
wait, no, he faced Eaton the inning
Oh, that's
before.
right. He came in to face
Came in
Eaton as a lefty.
and he got a generous strike call on strike two, and then got that check swing call that Marquez didn't appeal to third base on Eaton.
That's right.
But in hindsight, so at the time I was obviously furious because I hate when umpires don't appeal down the line because there's no way they're trying to keep track of 80, I mean like 90 miles an hour and a check swing at the same time.
Yep.
But
Same.
that's the whole show. But
Yep.
he, looking back on it after the game ended, I'm glad that happened because it made Roberts keep him in.
Right.
Oh, he got the out he needed to get. Let's keep rolling with him, even though it was Rendon in a bad matchup, and
Well,
then Soto, who
and
we were just throwing junk to all the time.
and the process was probably thinking that like, well, I want him in there to face Soto if I can. That's the at bat that I want.
Yeah,
But then Soto goes yard on the first pitch of the at bat, right? Like he just
yeah.
that's the thing to be on a just dreadfully bad pitch. I mean,
It,
you're
I
like,
think it was the same with he was pitching around Rendon. Rendon just happened to get one and dug it out of like 3 inches below the zone.
yeah, it was way below the zone. It was way below the
So I
zone.
think you're right. I think he was probably like, all right, let's try to get Rendon out by teasing the zone, and then hopefully we can get him out, and then you have the matchup with Soto. But obviously that didn't go well.
And he
And
just
then he threw 89 inner half one side up in the zone.
yeah,
It's like
and Soto
he
murdered
does
it.
that like off the bat. Everybody knew, like, and everybody was still just going nuts from Rendon's obviously, and then first pitch right down the dick, and he took 450. I mean,
Yeah,
again, the kid's 20, just taking out Clayton Kershaw like it's nothing
in an elimination game.
in the elimination game to tie up the game and send it essentially into extras.
Yeah, and then what has to infuriate Dodgers fans is Maeda comes in, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Like he continued to be as amazing as Maeda's really been all postseason for them,
He was,
but was not in to face the best hitters in the Nats lineup.
yeah. And then the same thing happened with Joe Kelly. Like I can't believe Joe Kelly was in for that entire 10th inning.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's really one of the first. I love Dave Roberts as a manager. I think he's a great manager. I would love to see him in DC at some point. I think he's awesome. But they it's the first kind of game where I looked at what some of the things that Dave Roberts was doing and I was like, really? Like this is interesting. Like obviously the Kershaw thing is probably an easy call, but then he comes in and he's not really throwing all that well, and you're like, all right, well, you leave him in to for the beginning of the next inning, but yeah, it was a tough spot, and like you said, the Joe Kelly call as well was like really interesting, which obviously went to the Nats' benefit.
Yeah, like he gave up, especially right after he gave up the double to Rendon. I
Right.
get that you're not going to bring in Kolarek to face Soto. That's cool, but you bring in somebody else to face Howie then because he just gave up a double to Rendon.
Right, especially after you are going to walk the bases with Soto, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't have a whole lot of options there once you decide to load the bases with no outs in the 10th inning. Like
yeah,
you've got to do something, and then to just say, well, we're going to stick with them. Like we're not going to go to Kenley or whatever, literally anybody else at that point, because for the most part, the Dodgers bullpen was pretty good all series.
yeah. He because it was interesting. Who was it? Was it when he faced? Who do you face? He faced somebody in the eighth inning where he didn't throw any fastballs.
He faced. Wait, who
Was the
did?
pinch? Kelly.
You mean in the ninth inning?
No. Oh yeah, in the ninth inning. Sorry, ninth inning.
Yeah, hold on. He faced. Uh,
I think it was whoever the pinch hitter was.
Matt Adams.
It might have been Matt Adams. But yeah,
He
there's one at bat where he threw like six curveballs in a row, and I was like, that's alarming.
It wasn't Adams. It was it might have been Adams actually. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was Adams. It was four pitches: knuckle curve, knuckle curve, knuckle curve, knuckle curve. all
Yeah,
four pitches.
so, yeah, to me, he
Oh
didn't really
yeah,
have his.
he came in. He threw 10 pitches that inning. All 10 were knuckle curves.
Maybe that was it. Yeah, it was a whole inning.
Literally
I
the
was
whole
sitting
inning
there.
was all knuckle curves.
Yeah, I even pointed out to Meg, I was like, he hasn't thrown a fastball yet. That's weird. He throws 99.
Yeah. Right.
Like the fact that you're not going to use him to throw fastballs, I don't know if that was on him or like, but he just didn't seem to me like he had his fastball, and he obviously wasn't confident in it.
Yeah. I mean,
To just have to continue to throw to other righties just didn't make any.
God, Tim Wakefield doesn't throw 10 knuckleballs in a row. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, it up.
that's pretty
Only
crazy.
Ross.
Yeah, right.
Only
Only
Ross.
Ross Detweiler will throw 10 fastballs in a row.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was, and obviously this setup is Dave Roberts admitted after the game he said something like gut, and his gut was just completely wrong twice in two crucial points in the game. And Howie hit the ball that I think only Howie knew was actually out when he hit it, because right off the bat I was thinking, oh, sack fly, and we have a lead.
I thought that
Cool.
too, and it wasn't like a dreadful pitch. It was on the inside.
It was a,
You want it to be a little bit more inside, but it was 97 miles an hour inside. Like how he turned on that, it was one of the better pitches that he's had the opportunity to throw in his outing.
yeah, for sure. And it just kept going, and everybody was trying to will it out, and then as soon as it landed, anybody associated with the Nats just went absolutely crazy because the reality wasn't real. Like it's still. I tweeted it yesterday. It just has nothing has felt real since that ball went over that fence.
Yeah, and you nailed it with that, right? Like ever since then, and we talked about it when we between game 4 and 5 when we did the podcast, when we kind of said we all kind of felt like we were playing with house money a little bit, but like
Yeah,
now it's like we're playing with $2 million at house money. Like it's just like this is so far beyond anything that I could have thought would be possible that it's just like, oh god, this is awesome. Like everything is positive at this point for me. I feel like, and we've had a lot of positives to be happy about, obviously, but it does kind of make things very interesting. And the thing that to me is so incredible is not only the second time in this postseason where the Nats went up in a game like right before the game was almost over, right? Like in the wild card game, it was the same kind of thing, and it was like you barely had a chance to breathe, and then Huddy was coming in for the save, right? And it was kind of the same
yeah,
way this time around, where like you barely had a chance to breathe, and then was it Doolittle came in for the save? I guess it was, yeah.
yeah.
So
Don't even remember. I'm sure. Like I don't like it. Doesn't
it doesn't even
it didn't matter.
it's
It didn't matter. Like if they had blown that 4-run lead, like obviously, like I just in that moment I was like, it's not happening. We're gonna make it.
right. Well, and that was so.
I think that was. I got that thrown real quick. Like since I was at the park, like I thought one of the coolest parts about that moment is that everywhere I looked, even including Meg and myself having conversations, everybody's like, "What is happening?
Right.
This is real." Everybody had their hands on their head. Nobody could. It was like it just looked like nobody could comprehend what was happening. Everybody was excited, but they're all like confused at the same time. And I thought that was one of the cooler things, just looking around the park because everybody is literally just in shock.
Right.
And that we're up 4 runs in the 10th. We have 3 outs to get before we move on to the thing that we've never done before.
Well, and it's that feeling of inevitability that happens very quickly because I felt the same way, and it was Doolittle that came in to replace Hudson for the 10th inning. But it was like once that happened, I was like, oh, we're going to the NLCS. Like I felt that way that moment. I was like, there's no way that even the Nats bullpen can blow this. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
And
Well, especially because we knew it was like Doolittle, I think. So
exactly, and like I had confidence in Doolittle, and honestly, if you're the Dodgers in that situation, the level of deflation that you must feel like
Yeah, with the swing.
must be so overwhelming. I mean, it just must you must just feel like garbage. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
and it's not like, oh yeah, somebody hit a solo shot and we're down by a run, we can come back. It's like, holy god, we have to go on a sustained rally here to have a chance and score four to runs just to tie it. Like,
but at the end of the day, if I'm a Dodgers fan, I'd rather go like that than Game 5 in 2012.
oh, no question.
The slow dagger in and out.
That you couldn't
Just
do
like
anything
one
about.
bullet shot to the head, like it's done.
Exactly. Like that you're watching it happen, like that your manager is pulling out all the stops that he possibly can and he just can't make it stop. Like that is the
Yeah,
most that is still going to be the most painful baseball game ever, but like this I totally agree. Like you don't watch it happen over the course of 5 innings. It just happens in one fell
it,
swoop.
it really even getting the bases loaded there happened pretty fast too.
Right. I mean, it was a walk and then a double and then an intentional walk. So it was really like two at bats to load the bases.
Yeah,
So it totally insane. It hit me. It really hit me once that home run got hit. It was quite a feeling. I was actually in San Francisco for work, or outside of San Francisco for work, and I was at a bar, and I made friends with a couple of Dodgers fans at the bar. And
sure.
at first, like they were kind of being a little trolly, and at one point I was like, "So you guys trolling, or are you really actually big Dodgers fans?" And they're like, "Oh no, we're actually up here for work from LA. Like they're huge Dodgers fans." And I had a blast on them. They were really nice guys, and at the end when I couldn't believe it. Like both of the guys like shook my hand. They were like, "Congratulations! Like you guys have gone through some stuff over the last few years." It was pretty cool, considering their 106 win team just got knocked out of the playoffs.
It was pretty funny following that progression of tweets when you just give those little side notes like, oh, now they're telling me about this and this and this, and then by the end of the game, you're like, oh yeah, I just bought them all drinks.
Yeah, right. They were really nice. I just and then I just felt bad for them. I would have wanted somebody to buy me a
But
drink at the end of the 2012 game 5. So I was like, yeah, I'll buy a round.
yeah, I think this adds to your memorable night for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
I gotta give props to Michael A because that catch at the end he
oh,
made look very easy.
it was
I don't know if
not.
you saw the. Did you see the angle from above center field?
I don't know if I have actually.
Dude, he probably went. He went at least like 110, 120 feet for that ball.
It's incredible.
He covered so much ground, and then he got up like, "Hey, I got the ball. What do you
Yeah,
want me to do?"
that was the best. But he was kind of like,
I
hey,
want the fucking NLDS. Like, dude, let's fucking celebrate. Adam Means like tackling him. Like
and he's and
that
he
guy, man, he cracks me up so much. He's just the most even keel person I think I've ever seen.
yeah, it's
How do you not freak out that you just did that?
I know, right? Like he just holds it in his other hand. Like, what do I do with this thing? I don't know. It's,
Because I caught it. See,
yeah,
here.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, that really cool moment. And he needed that one to make up for his game 2 moment that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But
Yeah,
that I know that it might not have been as bad as it looked, but it looked real bad at the time.
yeah, I got you on that one.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. So after that, obviously, the Nationals get into the NLCS. All of a sudden, they're playing the Cardinals in St. Louis with yet again one day off. Right, like they get to come down off their high and their hangovers and go to get ready to play another game in St. Louis with with Sanchez on the mound. And I think that I had a little bit more confidence coming into it with Sanchez than most. And again, I don't really know if there was a reason why. I just kind of felt like he's been pretty good, but boy, you could have never expected what he did in that game.
Yeah, I think they ended up staying the night and then flew to St. Louis. I can't even remember the days anymore.
It would have been on
That was on
Thursday.
so they stayed Wednesday night, flew Thursday, practiced late on Thursday, then played the game on Friday.
Right.
So I thought that was a smart decision. I'm sure they went pretty ham.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I felt better. I felt good going into the game with Anibal just because his last outing was pretty good too. We were talking about how this is probably the best he pitched all year.
Exactly.
Like he's just doing his thing. He's not overperforming by any means. He's throwing his pitches where he wants to throw them, keeping hitters off balance like he's supposed to, and like his goal. And I felt good going into it. And I was like, we just need to score some runs off of this dude, Michaelis, who I hadn't really heard of. So I was like, all right, man, if they keep playing like this, like really, it doesn't matter who we're playing. If they play the way they've been playing, it doesn't really matter. Like they've been playing their best. They're one of the best teams in the league, and they're top, one of the last four standing for good reason.
Yep.
At this, it's not really a fluke by any means. Like the wild card game could be flukish, but you just took out the 106 win Dodgers
Well,
and
and
made
then
them bad doing it too.
and the Nationals account tweeted or put on Instagram or something the other day, like since like the lowest of low points for the Nationals back on May 23rd, they have the best record in Major League Baseball. Like they've been really fucking good for a couple of months, and then have turned it on to another level over the last few weeks, right? Like they just have been a really good baseball team, and it's kind of, Craig and I have talked about it a lot on the podcast about like what happens at the beginning of a season totally takes over the narrative for a player or a team season, right? Like if you are shit for the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks of the season, it's really hard to come back and make an MVP case in the case of like Rendon a few years back, because he was really shit for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And like the Nats, I think, dealt with that this year of like being so bad for the first 6-7 weeks of the year that like it kind of caught people by surprise by the end when they were consistently in the playoff conversation. Like, oh, hey, the Nats, despite their bullpen, are doing stuff. It's like, hey, this team's actually pretty decent. It's hard to overcome that narrative.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like there's a reason why we keep thinking that this is so amazing because there's no other year would they be able to bounce back from 19 to 31.
No,
It's never going to happen again.
no,
If that ever happens again, nobody's going to be like, oh, well, they did that. It's not going to happen again.
right,
Like, I think it was something like 80 and 40. That's 666 baseball.
right.
That doesn't happen every day. That doesn't happen every year. Like it's one of those runs that doesn't compute.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people go really well, despite the fact that we still think our bullpen's not very good. For us to go 80 and 40,
Yeah,
which is insane.
yeah,
Then like, don't forget that we're technically the better team in terms of record, but just because we didn't win a division, they're the home team. But like they kind of, I don't want to say limped, but they kind of limped into the playoffs.
Well, right there,
They
there was a
lost the division.
yeah. They almost lost the division to the Brewers. Like the Cardinals were going, or the Cardinals were going into that last series with the Cubs. Like, well, we might be in the wild card game because they were so bad the
Yeah,
last few weeks of the year.
I had no idea. As soon as we got that wild card berth, I was like, all right, cool. It just depends on if we're playing at Milwaukee or at home. And somebody was like, oh, the Cardinals haven't locked it up yet. I was like, what? And I thought it was. I don't pay attention to the standings really, to be
Yeah, me
honest.
either.
Oh shit, they could still lose the division,
Yeah,
and I don't know who I'd rather prefer. And I was like, I mean, they blew it, and then the Cubs blew it. So then they kind of, it was almost a 163 situation, which I would have loved,
exactly.
but um, I think it says a little more about the Braves that they beat them than them just straight out taking it to the Braves. I feel like.
Yeah, right. That's a
I
good
think the
point.
Braves underperformed. Like I felt like they didn't play as well as they should have because I was kind of scared of them. Not kind of. I was scared of them going to the playoffs
Y-
because they're a very strong team. But then they ended up doing kind of like what the Nats have done in the past, where everybody's trying to hit bombs. Nobody's getting base hits, and they're all trying to swing for the fence. And like Acuna's like their only good bat. So that's what happens when you try to do that. You get shut out, or not shut out. You get beat 13-1 in the game 5.
Right, and
And
that's also because again, you got to play a little bit more small ball when it's cold out. It just doesn't fly the same. It's different.
yeah, definitely gonna get to that because these two games were, I think, in the 40s, and
Yeah.
it definitely.
It is, yeah, it showed exactly, and that's like I'm totally with you. I coming into this playoffs, but before I even knew the Nats, were going to get past a wild card game. The thing that scared me was like, well, the Nats have a chance until they face the Braves in the CS because the Braves are going to be in the CS and the Nats will probably lose because the Braves are really good. Like that was my whole thought process.
Yep,
Like
I
I was
agree with you.
shocked that the Braves lost that game. I shocked.
I was, I was shocked at that first inning. I was seeing the tweets. I was like, the Braves are what after one inning? They're
Yeah,
down 10-0.
yeah. It's like,
I
well,
couldn't believe it. It was truly shocking. I was like, oh, okay, now here they're gonna make this a game. They're
right,
gonna win this. They get to where they're supposed to be because they're that good.
right.
And I was completely shocked and surprised to hear that happened.
Yeah, totally with you. Totally.
So yeah, I agree with you, man. I felt good. I'm sure Craig did too going into this game. I know that. I mean, it's just like how we felt going into the NLDS after that wild card game. Like, man, if they can win a game like that, uh, what else can they do? And then they did it again in Game 5. Like, if they can win a game like that, who knows what can happen? and then game one starts, you have a solid pitching matchup, but 40-degree ball, which I don't think I realized till like the third because I just didn't check the temperature or anything, and I missed the very beginning of the game, so I didn't see the temperature, and I was like, oh, it's like 40.
Yeah, the
So
first pitch was 45, and then it got colder from there, right? Like that's pretty cold for a
yeah,
baseball game.
and both teams just came from we came from perfect weather in LA, and they came from Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. So it was
So it looks like it's a pretty big shock to both teams off the bat. Like the ball's not going anywhere.
yeah, exactly. And Annabelle comes in and is just absolutely fire from the very beginning. I mean, he was just from Jump Street. He was just you could tell he had some pitches, and in that game.
I think he was floating that changeup up like 71,
Yeah, right.
72. It cracks me up every single time. Like, how can you even come close to throwing that where you want to throw that?
And he does all the time, right? Like and he throws it off of pitches, and he throws it off of pitches so well that like even if it's not perfect location, he's throwing it off a
Yeah,
pitch where it's it's a 20-mile-an-hour difference. Nobody's got a shot on that. Like what can you
it's
do?
like the the brain just tells you just like that's not a fastball, don't swing, and then it ends up like just going right down the middle because your brain is not used to that going from 90 to 70. You're like, oh, it's off speed, it's early in the count, I'm gonna take that. Oh, it's right down the middle.
Right, right. It's
And
pretty
then
amazing.
yeah, I just yeah those yeah I mean pretty much this whole outing you're kind of just like this can't be happening. This this is game one of the NLCS. There's Anibal Sanchez is throwing a no hitter.
Well, exact, and then well, in the second inning, like Howie doubles, and then immediately there are a couple of outs after that, and then Gomes doubles, and another two out, RBI opportunity for the Nats, and all of a sudden, like even in the second inning, up 1-0, I was like, with that temperature and stuff, I was like, not going to be a lot of runs in this game. Like you could just
Yeah,
tell, like even if Sanchez imploded at some point, you could just kind of tell that like we're talking about a 2-1, 3-2 type of game here. We're not talking about a 5-4 games situation.
yeah. He's not he's not giving up any home runs.
Yeah, exactly. The ball's not
Uh,
going out. It doesn't matter how bad the pitch is. The ball's probably not going out.
Yeah, and I gotta give a shout out to Gomes because I gave him a hard time about his game one at bats in the NLDS. Coming through with his first at bat hitting a double was pretty sweet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
He needed that. And so it's funny because Kurt's the one that's over right now still.
Yeah, no, and Gomes has actually had a pretty good playoffs, right? I mean, he's
Yeah, he's turned up after that game one. He's played a
well,
little
exactly
better.
since that game, right? He played better. He went 2 for 3 and in game one of the
Yeah.
CS. He played well. But then obviously we just got to talk a little bit about Sanchez taking that no hitter. I thought that when Zim made that catch, I thought he had it.
Oh, yep. I was gonna say that too. I wrote a note about it.
Yeah,
As soon as he made that catch, I was like, "Oh, he's got this in the bag. No hitter.
yep.
Here we come."
That to me
Every,
is the moment.
you're gonna say the same thing I'm about to say right now. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say every time there's a no hitter or a perfect game, there's always at least one game saving play like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The thing
As fully as Zim could get.
it was amazing, and the thing that was so impressive to me, it was after the game. Annabelle was interviewed, and he basically said that he said like when Zim made that catch, like there's always one play like that in a no hitter. Like he kind of said like he was feeling it after that. It was
There's
really an insane play.
Yeah, it was, and I couldn't believe he caught it. I mean, off the bat, I was like, there it goes. And then all of a sudden, Jim's flying across your screen, making the best catch he's made in years, and you're just like, holy shit! All right, he's gonna do this.
Yeah, and then
I got it before we get to the actual breaking up. I got a couple of things I want to note real quick.
yeah, do it.
The Soto Michaelis side, did you catch that?
The beef on that after he got out that inning and Michaelis stared him down at first
Yeah.
base.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So apparently, and leave it to the. So obviously, we didn't see anything from Dodgers, right? But leave it to the Cardinals to be offended by something that he does to every single pitcher he's faced the entire year.
Yeah.
So yeah, he I think the funniest part, I'm trying to find. Hold on, let me find the what inning was that? I'm looking for it because it kind of made me feel embarrassed for the dude because um man, what inning is that?
It had to be in
You're
the
facing it's the
fifth
inning
fifth inning
was the
because
fifth.
that ended the fifth inning.
There it is. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see that. Okay, so here's my thing about that in terms of Michaelis looking like an idiot. So he's a grown ass man. He's facing a rookie that he has a problem with because the rookie likes to stare down pitchers and grab his crotch and or adjust his cup or whatever you want to, however you want to describe what he does between pitches. But he does it to everybody, and he's staring at the pitcher every time. But not once have I ever thought that he meant it disrespectfully,
No.
and it's very obvious when somebody means it disrespectfully. So the part that cracks me up about it is that Michaelis threw Soto four curveballs and decided to do that after getting him to roll over to second base. Not like striking him out swinging or
Right.
looking on the fastball. They just blew by him or anything like that. On a grounder that he rolled over.
Right.
Like, real tough guy. Let's talk shit after we just made a dude ground out that's 20 years old that you couldn't stand to pitch a fastball to.
Right.
So that's what cracked me up with that whole situation. I just kind of waved it off. I'm like, that guy's just being like, I can see how people would be turned off by the Soto that does that, like Soto doing that, but he does it to literally everybody, and not once has anyone. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong if you heard it, but not once in these 2 years has anybody ever felt offended by what he does between pitches.
I haven't heard it, and for me, ultimately, like it's he's looking down, he's smiling. It's a to me like, and if anybody did it to one of the Nats pitchers, I'd feel the same way. Like he's kind of being like, let's go, let's have some fun. Like that's always the feel that I get from him. Like he genuinely wants to. He wants a challenge, right? He's like, let's go, like let's have a good time. It's such a, and like you said, it's such a Cardinals thing to do. And I have friends that are Cardinals fans that are decent people, right? Like very good people. But it really that really got under my skin, and like the fact that it was the Cardinals took a whole different level to it. Like it just was like, oh god, why is it always the same fan bases who are trying to do this kind of stuff?
Like, of course. And I did love that they were like zooming in on Soto in those early at bats because you could tell how much he was loving being in the moment
Oh,
and how
totally.
much joy, like, oh man, this is the best, the highest level. This I get to see at this level, and I'm just enjoying it. He's like licking his lips before he steps into the box. Like,
Yeah.
it's like this. I'm like, this dude is again 20, and he's just like, it's a game.
Right.
Like it is, yeah. Obviously, it's a game, but like to him, it's like a smaller game than to everybody else.
Right.
And he's playing it at such a high level that he's just like having that much fun. Like a lot of other guys in that situation are like completely serious and it's like, oh my god, gotta get something done here. And he's just like playing like he's an 8-year-old playing for in a neighborhood.
Yeah. It's
Ooh, who just hit that? Judge just hit a home run.
oh god damn the Yankees.
So other real quick notes. I thought Aro's Arena definitely leaned into that pitch with his elbow pad.
Oh my god. So my tweet about that was like, this is Jose Tabata, like perfect game
Yep,
all over again. Like
exact
it was
same
the
thing.
exact same situation.
He sold it very well for live speed, so I get it. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, the slow mo, obviously he sticks it out and just pulls it back right away.
Yeah.
I thought it was very, very, very interesting that Andrew Miller only was in there for one soda.
Me too, man. Like we were texting about that at the time. I was really shocked that like you would bring in Andrew Miller. Like it speaks to the fear that teams have in Juan Soto, I feel like.
Yeah,
But like it's shocking to me that the Dodgers had a guy for Soto, but like if Andrew Miller's your guy for Soto for one batter, holy shit, man, people are scared of him.
and he threw him 7 sliders in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty. That's a great note because you're totally right. That was one of the most shocking things for me about that game was bringing Miller in to face Soto and nobody else.
And then right after that, Howie Kendrick comes in and singles to get Eaton in to make it 2-0, which was the final run of the game.
And I feel like to this point, Kendrick has had such an up and down. Like offensively, it's almost entirely been up, but like defensively, he's definitely had some struggles. But you can't not have him have his bat in the game at this point. He's been too good.
Yes.
But it was great at the end of game two to look out there and see Dozier at second base. It's like, oh, good. At least Davey knows that like that can't be left in that situation.
Yeah. And something that he hasn't done all regular season
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, Jose Martinez, who has played a big part in 2 games so far as a pinch hitter, is the one to come in and get a single off and ball to break up his no hitter. And I thought it was the center, so I thought Michael A played it perfectly. That's why I had wished that they had capitalized on all those runners on base. If that's a 4 or 5 nothing game, Michael A goes all out for that ball and try
exactly.
to for the hitter, but he played it perfectly. I'm like, you gotta keep that ball in front of you, and I thought he made a really good decision there, to the dismay of a lot of fans. But I thought that was a smart decision there.
I totally agree. You have to play to win that game, right? Like as much as it'd be cool to keep that no hitter, if that ball gets passed and Martinez could quite possibly have a triple or an inside the park home run, right? Like that's a whole. You can't let that happen for a no
Yeah.
hitter.
Like you play fundamental baseball, you keep them to a single, you keep the double A intact, and it's just smart play there. And I'm glad he was able to stay in the moment and not just try to do something that he probably shouldn't do.
Yeah, dude. Like you've seen guys like Taylor try to do too much at points in their career, right? And that was an example of him not doing that. He was like, okay, I know what I need to do here. Need to keep this ball in front of me. We got to win a baseball game, which is a sign of his maturity over the years.
Yep, I agree. And obviously, we've talked about how him coming in as the replacement center fielder for Victor Robles really isn't a step down. Even with a better arm,
Exactly.
he reads the ball just as like. I mean, he's a veteran outfielder, so he probably reads the ball slightly better than Victor at this point. Victor's just faster to make up for it,
Totally
but
agree.
is one of the best center fielders in the game defensively, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like some people really are have been harping on like the where's Victor, and I'm like, I don't know why anybody thinks that Victor is significantly better than Michael. I don't defensively, I just don't see it at all. I think that
No, definitely not hitting wise.
yeah, and certainly not hitting wise now, right? Like it's Taylor's the hand to ride, right? He's
Yeah.
I think he's been awesome, and
Uh,
just Doolittle coming in and kind of making it. I hate to say it, but he's making it look easy a little bit again. He's looking
yeah.
free and easy throwing again for the first time in quite a couple of months.
Yeah. He only really, it was pretty uneventful except for that bunt attempt by Wong that he almost messed up, but he was able to get him like maybe like a quarter of a second before Wong hit the base.
Well, and
Uh,
sorry, go ahead.
I was like,
My
so yeah, he got Dexter Fowler to ground out right after that Jose Martinez single to end the eighth, and then it was the bunt by Wong. He got Goldsmith to ground out on a pitch right in the corner. It was a beautiful pitch, and he got it right off the end of his bat. I think he then took it by himself, and then K'd up Ozuna on a 95 up in the zone. Vintage
I was
Doolittle.
gonna
So
say
that
his
was
bread
good.
and butter,
Yeah,
and like that
and he's like consistently at 95, which is really really good.
and his that play on the Wong bunt, I gotta like I was really impressed by it. And the thing I feel like I was most impressed by, like Doolittle, the thing I love about Doolittle, and I love him as a person and as a player. But the thing I love about him so much is like the number of times you'll just see him in a stressful situation or like after almost messing something up, just like shrug and laugh. Like he's just like, yep, that's what it is. Like it happened there in game two when he came in, which we'll get to. Like that someone hit it right back up at him, and he like fell
Oh yeah,
and ended like on his shoulder and neck somehow, and he just got up and like looked at Suzuki and started laughing, and it's just like that's the kind of guy that he is, and that's the kind of player that I want like in eighth and ninth inning clutch situations for my team, right? Like he just seems to be able to stay above the stuff that would normally rattle somebody.
he's like the pitching version of like Anthony Rendon,
Yeah, right.
except like outwardly happy all the time. Like you mentioned it last show when he did it when Muncy should have hit that home run off of it
Right.
before. He was like, yeah, that should have been gone.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. And he just kind of like shrugs, pointed at the sky, like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?"
Yeah.
Like it's
It just gets to the next batter. It's just like, all right, back to business, and it doesn't let it bother him.
yeah.
I do love that too. It's not too many closers are like that.
Right. I mean, almost none, really. Like it's such an intense job to have that
Yeah,
like they tend to be the guys that like don't talk to me and I go out there and don't come up to me, but like he's just a totally different bird in that situation. I just love it.
yeah. I mean, I love him as a person. Just a different type of ball player that's real down to earth and really enjoys. He says it, but you can really tell he enjoys what he does.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, after game one, I was with a couple of friends and we are all just sitting there, kind of almost in stunned silence, like, what? It's just one game
Yeah.
one,
We never do this.
like that. It was like
Right.
really, really easy. Like
Right.
that's not supposed to be that easy. Like we scored 2 runs, we left like 10 runners on base, but we didn't. They shut them out. What?
Yeah.
Just
It,
obviously, like it felt different than game five because game five was it's move on, but like it's like everybody expected them to play bad. I said expect them to play bad in game one because that's what they've historically done, and they did it. They didn't do that.
right. Well,
They played like you sit there in the beginning of the game. It's like, man, you always think like, what if this game ends after the first inning run? It's like 1-0 win the game like that. Baseball does that sometimes, and you never would expect that to happen in an NLCS game.
right.
Like they scored the winning run in the first inning of the game.
Yeah. That never happens ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
That.
that's what happened. Annabelle made it look easy,
Yeah.
and Doolittle made it look easy.
Right.
We got 10 hits,
Right. Like the offense
and like
made it
some
look
people are
easy
giving me
too,
crap
right?
about
Like
being happy.
despite the fact that they didn't score a whole lot of runs, like 10 hits in tough weather conditions is pretty impressive. Like that's they kind of went out and grinded a little bit. Don't have the runs to show for it, but that's a lot of offense.
Yeah, like I caught a little flack for saying that, like how I was happy about them. Like, yeah, but what about all the ones in run scoring position we didn't get any hits? I was like, dude, it's 40 degrees out. They're not trying to hit home runs. They got 10 hits,
Right.
single doubles. That's gonna make me happy any day of the week when it's 40 degrees outside. You do keep doing that, they're gonna be with runners on base at some point.
Well, and the benefit that you have
Yeah, I don't.
the benefit you have of a seven
Yeah,
game series is like unlike in a 5 game series, which is what's killed us, like the better team tends to come out in a 7 game series because you have the opportunity for like to come back to the mean, right? Of like, well, if you keep on getting hits with runners in scoring position or with runners on base, eventually you're going to win some baseball games. Like, or with runners on base, eventually you're going to score more runs to win baseball games. Like, and that's what will kill you in a 5 game series that doesn't tend to come out as much in a 7 game series.
and you think about it for the opposing side, that's a lot of stressful at bats for the opposition. They've used 6 or 7 bullpen guys yesterday, and yeah, they got out of some jams, but there was by no means easy for them to get out of those jams every single time.
Yeah, it's
And
wear.
it just in a 7 game series, that's going to wear on a team. That's going to wear on a bullpen.
Exactly.
That we keep grinding out at bats like we're doing, and we're not getting the results right now, but we're scattering 10 hits. I mean, honestly, you can't ask for a better game. You can't. Just if you think about it, our pitchers are going to go 9 innings without giving up a run, and we're going to hit 10 hits. Yeah, okay, you might only score 2, but I mean, if you think about it in a general perspective, like you couldn't have a better game to start off the series.
Yeah, totally. Like it gave confidence in really all places, right? Like, hey, the starting pitching's really good, the bullpen can do the job, and the offense can do enough. And like that's all you need in the postseason. You need those 3 things together. And like the Nationals did it to a T in game one.
And not to mention that they kind of bailed Hudson out. Just did even entertain the question of, man, what if Hudson was here?
Exactly. And
At least took it as a part of the equation.
Doolittle's quote afterwards was just the best in the world, where he basically, I don't have the whole tweet, but the quote was, if you give somebody a hard, if you say something to a pitcher besides "congratulations on your new baby," you're an asshole. Like Doolittle was just,
Oh, yeah.
he was just like, what, like, why would you, like, he had a kid, man. Come on.
Yeah, it just that doesn't make sense to me that people are actually arguing. It's like, well, he should probably be doing his job. I'm like, well, everybody else gets the day off from their job at least when they have a baby.
And you know
Why
what?
shouldn't
They
he?
should have more. Damn it! Like, come on.
Yeah, like, and it's not like he planned to do this.
Right.
It's not like he's like, oh yeah, let me just have a baby in case we're in the NLCS on game one.
Right. Exactly. Which just will happen to be on this one day.
And you can't a baby's birth can't be a well, just if something bad happens, you show up.
Right.
The fact that people are meant like talking, even entertaining that idea is just absolutely idiotic.
Yeah, absolutely. You're there for the joys and anything else that might happen, but the joys are the things that you show up for. I mean, that's just crazy. So
And I don't think if people are talking about that and they're actually like parents, I feel bad for their kids.
yeah, you're damn right. Like that's just so stupid. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's just idiotic.
It doesn't. Yeah, it was really, really stupid seeing all that. I think I did like one tweet on it. And I was just like over with. I was just. It's not even a question. I'm glad Davey was like that too. He's like, it wasn't a question. It was just like, okay, well, how can we? How are we gonna go about this? It's not
Right. Just
stay or go. It's you're going. Let me know what you need.
just like any professional situation, when someone says, "Hey, my partner is about to have a kid. Maybe we should figure out a plan here for how we're going to deal with this when I'm out." Like it's a job. Like that's
Yeah, no brainer. I'm glad that nobody, and obviously that we heard of, but nobody in the Nationals even entertained him being there.
yeah, it's the right call. Totally.
Yeah,
And then, so riding kind of a crazy high from game one into game two with Scherzer on the mound, knowing that he's going to go full blown Scherz, and he sure did. He just looked, from the first pitch of that game, he looked more insane than usual. I feel like
yeah.
he was locked in a way that we haven't seen in a little while with him. I feel like personally.
I probably since Game 5. I mean, I joked around that he was probably in the bullpen at the end of the game just because everybody wanted him out of the dugout because I'm sure he was going nuts
Right.
all of Game 5. So Scherzer said it was his plan. He's like, yeah, it was my plan. I told Davey I'll be out there if you need me if shit hits the fan. And I'm sure Davey's like, yeah, cool. You go ahead. Yeah, you go to the
Right.
because I heard people kept seeing him standing right next to Davey. I'm sure he was bothering him the entire game about every little thing he could be.
Right. Exactly. Like Davey's like, just
You know,
just
he
go to the
took
bullpen.
then,
It's fine.
yeah, and then to see Annabelle do that in Game 1, and just be like, there's no way he was going into yesterday Game 2 and not gonna just put up his best game at the very highest level that he could, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, that was classic Scherzer, probably from like last year before, not as much this year, but like one of those where you kind of know from the first inning, like, oh, okay, he's going deep.
Yeah.
That first inning, he did kind of struggle though. Oh, if I remember correctly, he threw like at least 20 pitches.
Yeah, he had a pretty high pitch count early. I mean, he definitely wasn't like incredibly pitch efficient early on. I think he found himself into a couple of deep counts, like had a walk in the first inning. It wasn't looking quite as sharp as he has in the past, but he just kind of that, not to use a cliche term here, but he had that kind of grind feel about him early on.
Yeah, and then he settled down pretty much in the second on.
Yeah, yeah,
He had second 1, 2, 3, third was 1, 2, 3, fourth was 1, 2, 3, fifth was 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was pretty much that. The first base runner was in the first, the second base runner was in the sixth. So yeah, 2 through 5, he was just lights out. Like the Scherzer that everybody tunes in to see Scherzer, like that Scherzer.
Right, with just a boatload of strikeouts too, right? Like it's just he kept on piling them on as he always does.
Fourth time in his postseason career that he's thrown 10 Ks.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's easy to say like both he and Strauss do that during the year with kind of
Yeah.
kind of with regularity, but like you got to think about like these guys have thrown 200 plus innings. It's cold. It's a playoff game, and and he did it again. Like that's nuts. Like and to have done that 4 times in the playoffs is insane.
And he did it against a lineup that just scored 10 runs in 1 inning like 3 days ago.
Right. So they're capable.
Yeah, and he made the Lawson look silly. He made Dexter Fowler go to a knee on a changeup. He made Goldsmith buckle on a slider that ended up right down the dick.
Right.
That he threw that one. I was like, holy shit, that thing must be moving like crazy. If he's got Goldschmidt flinching and it ends up right down the middle.
Yeah, this is like an MVP guy, and he's like making him flinch pitches down the middle, like totally insane. And then with we obviously on the note of Taylor kind of letting the no hitter go in the Sanchez game one. Juan did the same thing with the Goldschmidt hit to left field, and once again the right call, right? Like I think with a huge lead, maybe he lays out for it, but if he doesn't, Goldschmidt's on third easy, right? And so you got to play to keep the ball in front of you. It's a close game. You got to win the game and keep the double play in line.
Yep, he did exactly. He had the same thought process as Michael A the night before. Um, the only difference is that he kind of thought about it later than Michael A did, and
Definitely.
honestly, he was lucky to catch that ball because he almost missed it.
Yeah, he kind of had that jump step like right before, and he's like, "Nah, I better go back," and it almost skipped by him.
Yeah, and like the thing I love about that is again, he's 20. He made the same decision a 28-year-old made the day before, and it was the right decision. If it wasn't a tight game again, he should have gone for it. But the fact that he kept that in front and that he actually caught it was actually pretty impressive to me because that's a hard ball to catch in a short hop.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then I think right after that, because I think that was that led off the inning.
Yeah, led off the inning. So then it was Ozuna strikeout, and then a double play from Yadier.
Yeah, yep, huge. And then he went one more, right?
No, that was it. He went that 7.
Oh, that was it. And then that's right.
And then it was Patrick Corbin time. Oh well, it was Doolittle time and then Corbin time. Doolittle went through that one inning and still looked good, right? Like he gave up the run, but overall, I think that he did and located the way that I want Doolittle to pitch in a game late in games.
Right. So before I address Michael A. Taylor's defensive play, I would like to have to give props for the home run off of Wainwright because Wainwright was downright filthy.
Yeah, he was so good.
I mean, that was a classic pitching duel that I was enjoying both ways of because I was like, these two are both going at it as high a level as you can see two major league pitchers go at it because obviously the shadows helped. It was being a 4 o'clock game. The shadows were in and out the entire game. And if you don't know what that can do to affect a hitter, it's kind of like I always think about it when I turn on lights in the classroom because the kids freak out because their eyes are used to it being dark and then it goes light right away. So the eyes have to take time to adjust. Now imagine that happening to the ball because they pick up spin off the pitcher's hand to determine what pitch is coming. They don't just kind of like see where it's moving. They see the spin. And it's harder to do that when right out of the pitcher's hand it goes from light to dark. So their eye doesn't have time to adjust to seeing the spin. And then at the last second it's just diving out and it's almost invisible sometimes depending on the pitch. Like Wainwright's curveball probably was literally just disappearing about halfway to the plate for some of these guys. You could tell on some of them, some uneasy swings, some takes on ones that are like hittable just because it's hard to pick up. And I don't know if the sunglasses help, but Michael A got one just below the top of the zone and took it out. He said after the game that he knew he barreled it up, but he thought it was too high to get out, and it just kept going. And he was kind of surprised by that. But big props to him, man, because that was obviously a huge home run early on to just kind of let us settle in again. We're like, oh, we got Max on the mound, we got to run, let's go.
Well, it was also an afternoon game, so it was like the temperature at first pitch was 59 degrees, so that it was 20 degrees warmer essentially than the night game before. So that probably helped Taylor's case. I don't know if that pitch was going out the night before, right? Like that probably was staying in the yard.
Probably too high to go out yesterday. I mean, the day before that.
Exactly.
And I just have to throw out after yesterday, his career playoff numbers because it's pretty unbelievable. So he's had 37 at bats. He's batting .297 with 6 hits, 6 runs scored, 3 home runs, 9 RBI, a .381 on base, and a .921 OPS.
Mikey Taylor, man. Holy crap!
Unreal how different he is in the postseason compared to the regular season.
Yeah. Well,
like the dude spent the year in Double-A, and obviously just he's in Double-A because it's closer to Nats and Fresno's way too far, but he spent the season in the minors.
Yeah, and
everybody's healthy. He was in the minors, just getting playing.
And he comes in and does this. It's pretty impressive. Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to and speaks to a little bit of what you were talking about before. Of like he's just so chill. that like the playoffs just don't affect him like everybody else. You know, like he's just like, whatever, it's an at bat. I can get to deal with it the same way as I would any other
Yeah,
time.
he's just kind of like feasting on everybody's mistakes.
Yeah.
It was definitely a mistake pitch. He shouldn't have, like Wainwright shouldn't have thrown it there, and he made him pay for it because probably that reason. He's probably just like calm. He's like, oh, I actually get a good pitch for once.
Right, with the Nationals lineup as stacked as it is, like you got to throw a pitch to somebody eventually, and
Yeah,
Taylor's the beneficiary of that, right? Like he's gonna get probably a few more fastballs or good pitches to hit because you gotta can't throw the same pitches every time to every batter. You know, you gotta switch it up a little bit, and he's been the beneficiary of it for sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
So moving on to his defensive play, that probably was the biggest negative from the entire game. Jose Martinez comes up again in a pinch hit situation, and Doolittle, I probably have to check the pitch. Doolittle got him out front on a, was it a changeup? I think.
I'm checking now.
Really want to know.
Doolittle got him out in front. A
But
splitter.
so it was an 81-mile-an-hour splitter and got him out front. It was like right on the corner too. And Michael A took like one or two hard steps in, stopped. The ball started traveling over his head. He tried to run back and jump to get it and went right off the top of his glove for a double and a run. And so, first things first, I'm going to say that this ball should have been caught. That's what I will start off with. But I want to explain why it was a hard play and one that I do not fault him for because the hardest ball to read in baseball is the line drive to the center fielder, straight ahead, because you don't get any tail, you don't get any hook, you have no indication of how fast the ball's going and how high it's going to be because it's right at you. So what I think he saw was low trajectory and a swing out on the front leg, which is exactly how Jose Martinez. He hit it all on his front leg, his arms fully extended. Mike Lay said after the game that he couldn't hear the crack of the bat, which is also a big indicator for outfielders to use because the Cards fans were being so loud. So that was out of the equation. If he had heard it, I don't think he would have rushed in.
Right.
But since he couldn't hear it and just seeing the swing that was taken, it was fair to assume that the ball was going to drop in front of him. I actually thought off the bat before the view went out to him that it was going to drop in front of him. So I was expecting Mike Lay to be running in. And then when they went to him in the view, I just saw the ball keep going up, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then you could tell Michael A was like, "Oh shit!" And then ran back to try to make up for it. So I completely understand why he missed it. My only beef there is that he didn't freeze because usually that's what you do on a line drive right at you. If you can't tell if it's going to be in front of you or behind you, you freeze. But I thought it was fair for him to assume in, which is why he took those two running steps in. But it just looks worse at the time when it first happens, is because it just looks like he completely misread it.
Well,
But it's hard to judge those because you can't really tell. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, it really kind of shows you how strong Jose Martinez is for him to hit the ball that far on a swing like that, and it really caught I think everybody off guard.
yeah, I mean the pitch was outside. It was not an easy pitch to hit. But the other thing that I think makes it look that much worse is the incredible catch that Eaton made two batters earlier.
Oh
The
yeah,
one that he went back on and like leapt and made that catch. So like when you see that Eaton, who is an average-ish corner outfielder, to like when I saw that going to Taylor, and it's like, oh well, Taylor has this. Like that was my immediate thought. Like there was no doubt in my mind. I was shocked that Eaton made that play, but Taylor had that the whole way in my mind. And then like to watch that just go over his head, it was just like, what is happening? Like how can that happen? But you're the baseball mind, right? Like what that looks like. But it's easy, even man, in beer league softball, like that rope where like, oh, it's coming right to you, and it's like, nope, that's 30 feet over my head. Never mind. It's
and it's
hard.
like a field swing by the guy
Yeah.
or girl. And girls do it too. Girls catch guys off guard all the time. They'll come in softball and they'll be playing like 2 inches outside the infield, and the girl will hit one. Oh, I got it, and then it's like 15 feet over their head because they just don't expect the girl to hit that
Right.
hard.
Exactly. Like it happens all the time.
I will tell you, yeah, guarantee that Eaton had a better time or an easier time reading that was over his head than Mike Lay.
Yeah, that's a great point. Really great point.
It's a lot easier. I feel like center field's a lot easier in general except for that one read, the line drive right at you.
Right.
Because otherwise, you can tell it's going to be a flare away from you, so you can tell how far it's going to be, and you can help your other outfielders out. Right field, you got to deal with the fade. And left field, you got to deal with the hook. And center field's the easiest, except for that one play, and that's that one that he happened to do, and Jose Martinez hit the shit out of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he killed it. There were
No,
no doubt.
it was at least 110 off the bat.
Yeah, I think it was.
I
I
know
think it
he
was 110.
really, really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get why it happened. It's still a play that has to be made. In my book, that's an error.
Yeah, that was.
It's hard to do that officially, but yeah, in my book, that's an error because it's a misread.
They almost never put errors on outfielders. It's so rare. It basically has to hit the glove for it to be an error. Like that's the kind of the way it ends up being. But like that has to be in my
He
book
didn't
too.
hit it. Yeah, maybe if he didn't hit it, because at the end of the day, if you hit it that hard, you should. The expectancy of a hit is very high,
Right. Right.
so it's hard to call an error. But I know that Michael A would probably be like, "Yeah, that's an error on me."
And it was
Even though
off his glove. Like he should have made that play. Like
yeah, he almost got it.
yeah.
He almost made up for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, Corbin made me very nervous, to be honest, when he came in for Wong. Um, I'm glad that at bat only lasted 2 pitches and it was a rollover. Rollover.
I was just going to say that. So that was my next question for you because I immediately was very uncomfortable with the idea of Corbin coming into that game, and I get that Davey's trying to use the best players that he has in every opportunity, and Corbin could be that. But if you're going to use Doolittle already, I feel like giving Doolittle a guaranteed clean inning rather than letting Corbin come out and see what he does is a whole different situation. It ended up, like you said, a 2-pitch at bat couldn't have gone much better for Corbin, and then it cut down on some of the pitches that Doolittle had to throw, which he's probably going to need a little bit of rest at some point here soon. But
I'm glad he's getting today.
I'm sorry.
I said I'm glad he's getting the break today because he's probably pitching in these next 3 games.
Yeah, you'd think, right? Like today is definitely obviously the easy off day, but it'll be interesting to see if they find a way to give his shoulder a little bit of a break here in the next couple of games. But you don't have a lot of chances left. You got to get the guys in the right spots when you can. But yeah.
At least he knows he's going to be. At least he knows he's going to be used a lot.
Right. There's no unknowns about that.
Yeah.
But and then
I also thought last thing I'll say, it was notable that Hudson got Goldschmidt to fly out, and Goldschmidt barely missed that for a home run.
Oh yeah.
And then Ozuna's been like these 2 games he's been struggling. Apparently he was one of their better hitters in the NLDS, and he's been really struggling. He fouled out. I mean, I didn't think he would foul out to end the game. That was like that was my least expected outcome, I think, of that at bat.
On the first pitch, which was a terrible pitch.
Yeah.
It was.
So I don't know what happened to him in 3 days, but he hasn't looked good.
It was a 97 mile an hour pitch that was like 5 inches off the plate. I mean, it was a terrible swing. It was, and if you've got your guys who are supposed to be your studs doing that, and Goldschmidt, like you said, just missed one, but otherwise has not really been visible in this series. So the Cardinals are wanting for a lot right now. I would say they have not for as confident as people were that they would look good after their destruction of the Braves in Game 5. We've not seen any of it. Now, credit to Anibal and Max for that in huge ways. But even some of their good guys have not looked very good.
Like, it makes sense after one game to be like, it's one game, but they have to be more concerned after it happening twice and then about to face Strasburg away.
Well, and that's so their manager kind of said about I am a little concerned at this point, but let's not pretend like they're not really having dreadful at bats. It's like the opposing pitching has been, without saying it, he said the opposing pitching's been unbelievable, and it has been. But you can't really if I'm a Cardinals fan, I can't love the odds with Steven Strasburg back in DC for a Game 3 to kind of have a chance to make any ground back. Like, could you find it? I don't know. Like, it's a tough spot.
I just feel like it's one of those games that feels like a reverse lock.
I say that
Or
all the
maybe I'm
time.
just telling myself
Yeah.
that just in case, because I'm going to be there and trying to like brace myself for a loss, and then hoping they surprise me, which they've done because I said the Cardinals were going to win the whole series.
Right.
And so maybe that's a defense mechanism for myself, but I it's either going to be like I feel like they either Strauss does really well and does his thing, and it kind of repeats the script of 1 and 2, or it's the complete opposite and we get like blown out.
Yeah, I mean, Strauss has not really had a bunch of like middle of the ground games this year, right? Like he's either good or he's not that good. Although he's been good about 80% of the time more than he's been not that good. Maybe higher percentage than that.
I mean, Game 5 is like the only one, and even then he had the pitches, he just wasn't really accurate with them as much as he has been lately.
Right, and he gave up 3 runs in 6 innings, and you again, as we've kind of been saying.
Two,
Oh yeah,
like two to
two.
be honest. Like
That's right.
yeah, the rest is like fine.
Yeah, like you gotta find a way to win those games, right? Like it's just, and so I go into it as a Nats fan feeling pretty confident. I think I was watching some of the post game coverage after Game 2 on TBS. Which can we just talk for like a moment about the play by play guy on the TBS crew is so unbelievably bad that it draws like I think Francoeur is pretty good. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's grown on me.
Yeah.
He's not as bad as we could have.
Yeah, right. Ron Darling, I've always been fine with. I don't love him. I don't hate him. But like the play-by-play guy is terrible, and it kind of brings down the level of the broadcast. But I do like the pre-post game on TBS a good bit, and
Oh yeah,
Pedro Martinez is great. Gary Sheffield has some good things to say sometimes, and then the addition of Jimmy Rollins and Granderson has some cool insights too. I think it's been a good pre and post, and all four of those guys said like it's done by Game 6, like the Nationals are going to win. All four of them.
they all called Game 2 for the Nats. I kind of freaked out.
I know,
I
right?
was like, what?
And
Oh no.
and I think it was It was either Granderson or Rollins. I don't remember which said the series doesn't go back to St. Louis. Like it's done in DC. It's over. Like that as a Nats fan freaks me out. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've seen anything to make any other sort of prediction, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, from an outside perspective, that's a completely logical argument to make there.
right? Like, if one of those guys came and said like, "Oh, the Cardinals are going to come back," like they would look like a clown. Like, how could you
Yeah.
do that with what you've seen? Like the Cardinals have shown nothing to prove that outside of like Jose Martinez has had some good at bats. That's it.
Yeah. And like, why is he not starting?
Right, exactly. That's another really valid question, which I imagine.
Defense, I know, but like,
But
if you're not gonna hit, it doesn't matter.
exactly that you could if you it doesn't matter if you have crappy defense, but like if you score 1 run in 18 innings, it doesn't matter how bad your defense is. You're going to lose baseball games.
Yeah. So I imagine he's gonna be in.
I would be shocked if there wasn't some lineup reconstruction for St. Louis for Game 3.
He's got to be. If I'm a Cards fan, he's the one that has to be in the lineup. He's the only one that's had good at bats,
Yeah, right. Like
and he happens to do it in 2 pinch hitting appearances. Like, come on.
him and Goldschmidt are the only two like must be playing in these games, in my opinion.
Yeah. So far, yeah.
Yeah, I mean
I agree.
it'll be.
Okay? So, did you read the Jason Stark story on the Anibal and Max
So
going back to?
no, so I've seen some tweets and stuff about it, but I haven't read the article about it.
So the last time, obviously, that's a very rare occurrence to have two of your starting pitchers go. I think 6 was the baseline of innings, no hit back to back. The last two pitchers to do in the postseason are the same two that did it the past 2 days. Back in 2013, actually not even just the postseason, but the ALCS
Right.
in 2013, they did the same thing. They went back to back, both through at least 6 no hit innings. And I think he went through and said a bunch of different stats, but the Nats and the Expos franchise has played 7,363 games, and this is the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, like that was, and I think that's another reason. Doolittle's reaction was like, "Wow, really? Wait, that's like really cool. Like it's just like a really normal, down to earth reaction. Another reason why I love the guy because when he gets told stuff like that, he has a really fan reaction to it that you don't usually get from big league guys.
Right. It's not like, oh, cool, nice.
Yeah, it's like whatever. I'm that too.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
I could do the same thing. But yeah, I just thought that was cool. It was the same two guys that did it the most recent times, um, and just having it be two pitchers that probably could not be more different in terms of how they try to get guys out.
Yeah. Right.
Like that's what like oh okay maybe the Cards just did that because in game one because Anibal is a soft throwing junk pitcher, and I've mentioned before that that's the kryptonite for most teams, especially good hitting teams, is slow pitching. And then let's see how they do against Max. And then Max is like, no, fuck that. I'm better than Anibal. I'm going to pitch better than he did in that first game. So then they both do this, and where all of us are just sitting here stunned, like, what the fuck just happened?
Right.
Like, how is the situation we're in right now?
Well,
It doesn't make any sense. That's the whole past day has been like that. It's like, why is this happening? How is this happening the way it's happening before?
well, and Lauren tweeted out on her account right after game two ended. Like it's fun when Joe just kind of walks around saying what the fuck randomly every 2 minutes after that game ended, and like I just want to be clear, that's really exactly what happened. Like I wasn't, she was not making a joke. I was just like every couple of minutes we would be like watching a TV show, be like, what the fuck, like what is happening right now? I couldn't. I still can't believe it, and you know I too kind of I was confident with Anibal, but I expected to be down 0-1 in that game. I mean, it's and then
Yeah.
I had confidence with Scherzer coming in that we could tie it up, but like to be 2-0 coming home, it's hard to express how staggering that is. Like it's still I don't know until I'm watching the game tomorrow that will sink in. Like game 3 of the NLCS at Nationals Park, like I don't know if that will sink in yet.
Like I keep making comps, but again, so game five felt like the Caps beating the Penguins in the second round, finally getting past the second round in 2018 before they won the Stanley Cup. These past two games have felt like those. I think it was game two and game three against the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals when they were like literally everything was clicking.
Yep.
Like every time they came down the ice, they scored. They played amazing defense. I think they might only give up like one or two goals that were like not too special or anything. But like I remember sitting there watching with my buddies. I'm like, this is the best Caps team I've ever seen play.
Yeah.
And it feels like they finally got. It's cliche. They finally got the monkey off their back, and they're like, oh, new uncharted waters. Let's attack. Let's be aggressive. Let's just do our thing. We've already passed what everybody thinks that where we should have ended.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of how these two games have felt.
Well, and you said this right, I think in the first show that you came on with us, you said like this is what it feels like, and then just a couple of days ago, Scott Allen on the Washington Post, like they posted a blog about exactly that, like it's not too far off, and I'm like, oh man, he's listening to Johan on our podcast, but it's true, right? Like the similarities, you can't discount the similarities, they're there.
Yeah, like and so obviously also what happened in that Lightning series is that the Caps lost 4-5 and had to win elimination games in 6 and 7. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. But it's well within reason that that's how it shakes out. I'm trying to put like a bookmark here and just be like, remember how you felt right now.
That's right.
This could all change very quickly. They could easily take 2 out of 3 here, and it's like an even series, and you know what happens there. 7-game series are crazy. But if they win tomorrow, I literally just don't. I don't know what I'm going to be able to like do on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know that feeling. So, but I think it's a great point to say, like, Lauren and I were talking about this yesterday. Like, she said, is there any chance that at this point you could look back and say the national season wasn't a success? And I was like, no chance.
Hell no.
It's a success right now. Even given the disastrous start, the questions about the bullpen construction, everything else, this season is a massive success. And even if they lose the next 4 games, massive success.
I mean, they could have just. We said that right after they just made the wild card.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like not even playing in it yet. Like they made the playoffs after that start. That's amazing. The season is a success. Then they won that, and they're like, okay, well that made it just an even bigger success. And then they go out and win the NLCS in 5, and it's just like, okay, that happened too. So where are these guys going to stop? Like it's already been a success like three times over, and I'm just really hoping that it just doesn't. Obviously, it just doesn't stop. Like they keep playing the way they're playing right now. They're looking like one of the better teams.
Yeah, totally.
There's only four left. There's only four fucking teams
I,
left, Joe.
it's, how is that possible,
Like,
Johan? I don't understand. Who are we
why?
watching? What is this team?
Yeah, it's just it hasn't sunk in. It's like the Nationals are one of the last
Well,
four main teams.
and when you look at the other teams, like the Cardinals are almost always good. They've had a rough couple of years recently, but almost always. And the other teams are the Yankees and the Astros, and the Nationals are in that conversation. What the fuck?
Just yeah,
That's like
it doesn't make any
insane.
sense. And I kind of, we talked about how it just feels like 2012 in the sense where it's like there's no expectations right now.
Right.
This is already well past what we thought they were all going to do. To be disappointed if they lose this series would be pretty insane to me.
Right. Like it won't if that happens, it would be like, well, that's a bummer, obviously. But it's like you still have to look back on the story that's being spun right now and go, this is pretty insane. I think Davey
Yeah,
actually said something the other day of like this season feels like a book or something like that. I saw some sort of quote about that. It's like, yeah, like very possibly.
yeah. Like the past 3 weeks have been just nuts.
Yeah.
I've gotten no sleep.
Yeah. It's
I slept for like 11 hours and 11 and a half hours, and I was like, I've needed that for the past 3 weeks.
yeah, like it just builds up, and like I feel the same way. Like with all the games plus travel and time difference, I just feel like I said this morning, I was like, what day is today? Like
Yeah,
I have no idea what day today is.
that like the NLDS felt like one long day,
Exactly.
and then now we're in a different long day, and we're just having to be like taking a break right now.
Yeah. Well,
But the part I don't know if I should be excited or concerned for this. It's probably because I'm a Nats fan, but in that same um, article by Jason Stark, he kind of ended by saying there's only been um, 12 teams that have ever started the NLCS with two wins on the road, and guess how many of them have moved to World Series?
oh boy. Two.
All 12.
Oh, stop it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
12.
like I was gonna say
Right?
if that
Doesn't
that
that make you like really excited and like really nervous at the same time that they could be the first one to not?
yeah, right. And it's like as a
And
Nat,
that's like the Nats fan that's like embedded in me, but like I don't
exactly.
know if I should be.
As a Nats fan, it's like, well, that would be the thing that we're first at. But
Yeah, exactly. We're always first at those type of things.
hey,
Like
anything
that
could
warrants
happen.
it right now? I don't think so.
No, I wouldn't take those odds for any amount of money at this point. I really wouldn't. I
Oh my god! But yeah, I read that earlier and I was like,
oh, that's
I had
scary.
to like, I like skip my heart skipped a beat. I think I lost my breath for a second. I
Yeah,
was like, oh no,
yeah, that's pretty crazy.
like but that really puts in perspective what they've just done.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty
It
awesome.
just it doesn't happen in the history of the NLCS. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's
The
I kind of feel the same fluttery way actually now that you mention it. Well,
yeah, I had to mention this because I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job if it wasn't.
well, yeah, definitely. I feel this is so. I feel like this is my callback, Johan, is always you and I walking back from RFK after that concert, talking about Strasburg and the Nats. Like I feel like this is the conversation we've had for the last hour and a half, and I love it. It's awesome.
And I feel like this is the time that we've been waiting for when you were talking about that back in 2015.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
We've been talking like a big chunk of that conversation was his potential going down the line because he's getting healthier and he's starting to progress as a pitcher. And it was like 1 or 2 in the morning while we are doing
Yeah,
that.
exactly. One or two in the morning after watching a Foo Fighters concert.
And after going to the 4th of July game, that was like the longest day
That
ever.
was the longest
I
day
think I
ever.
had 30,000 steps on that day.
Yeah, worth every one of them too.
Yeah, and I almost brought that up last time, but we didn't have the time for me to squeeze it in there. But I'm so glad that you remember that because
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember that all the time. Yeah.
yeah, like that was one of the best talks I've ever had with somebody about baseball in general for an extended period of time, like pretty much ever.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. And so we get to see him tomorrow, which is I think can only be exciting, right? Like he's been incredible. So game three, Strasburg against Flaherty. Do you got the Nats or the Cardinals? Nats going up 3-0 or the Cardinals going 2-1?
I'm going with what I want this time. I'm going cards. Oh, not cards. I'm going Nats.
Oh, jeez.
Don't want that for sure. Do not want that at all. But yeah, I'm going with the Nats. I They got the momentum growing right now. These past three games they've played have been pretty insane.
I've got the Nats too, man. I don't know how you don't pick that with Strasburg on the mound, back at home. You got to go that way. Like maybe we'll be wrong, but I think it's the Nats are up 3-0 at the end of Game 3.
And the extra incentive for me to want that is that my buddy works for a lobbying company, and there's a chance that he might have sweet tickets for Tuesday, and
Oh,
possibility of that
oh God! With
like
Corbin
clinch.
on the mound, good lord.
Exactly, it's just absolutely ridiculous in my mind. It's just like
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool.
yeah, that would be awesome. Any other
And
game 3 predictions or thoughts or anything?
what I will throw out is I coached a doubleheader today, and one of my former players that just graduated from Lake Braddock is going to CNU now and playing. I basically had this whole download I did with you with him, but we were just between innings. Every time I was in the dugout, we were just talking about the entire Dodgers series and then how these first two games have gone. And what one of the things that we got to talking about was obviously Soto and how they looked they look just as scared as the Dodgers do of that guy. And we're obviously talking about how he's still 20 because he's only 2 years younger than him. He's
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah, I'm 18. He's 20. He's already doing this in the big leagues. I'm like, yeah, dude, he is 12 years younger than me.
Right,
So
exactly.
yeah, we were just talking about how they are bringing their absolute best for him. Like we said earlier, Michaelis had threw him four straight curveballs. Andrew Miller, one of the best relievers in the game, threw him seven straight sliders to get him out.
They're more.
They are carefully walking right around him, which is great because I am absolutely loving the middle of our lineup right now with Rendon, Soto, Howie, Zim, because every time one of them gets out, I remind them like, oh, we have another good hitter coming up. Oh, we have another good hitter coming up. And a lot of our innings, I feel like three or four of this series already have started with Rendon because Eden has been pretty dreadful other than that triple.
Right.
And whenever Rendon starts an inning, it's tended to lead to something good just because those four hitters in a row have been pretty locked in. And Zim right now is probably swinging the best out of all of
I
them.
was just going to say that. That was the exact
He's
thing that I was
not
just about to say.
Yeah, he's not getting rewarded for it, but he's taking the best hacks. He's taking giant hacks
Even
under control, but he's been on everything. He's just missing. He's not getting the results he would like, but I feel like he's most locked in at anybody right
I
now.
totally agree. He had that at bat where he grounded out hard to second at like 108 miles an hour or something. It
Yeah,
was like he is just killing the baseball right now, and like the fact that we're in a situation where the person that they're scared of is Juan Soto and not perennial like top 3 MVP guy Anthony Rendon is
yeah,
mind-boggling to me. It's crazy.
yeah. And then like when you get him out, it's like, oh, Howie's up,
Yeah, right.
and then Howie's like, oh, Zim's up. And then now it's like if it's Michael A right after Zim, like he's getting to that point where he's like solid too.
Right.
He's been having great at bats this postseason. Like even when he gets out, he's been having great at bats. No more him foiling away at outside sliders. Like he took a couple good ones on game one, and like, okay, this guy maybe it's turned the page, or maybe it's just postseason again. But the
He's
lineup,
he's gone deep in a bunch of at bats this postseason, like a bunch of them.
yeah, and gotten like hits with like full counts or walks like late.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we want to? I know we're like running up on time, and we're like way over time
Oh
already.
well,
But
that's all right.
conversation we were having about when Victor comes back, what do you do? Pull Michael A or you?
You got to leave Michael A in there. I think. I don't think that like Victor. I think is a better option off the bench in general. And I think you got to leave Michael A in there. And I
Or
know. Sorry, go ahead.
do you keep rolling with Eaton?
That's what I was just gonna. I was just gonna say. I know we were texting a little bit back and forth throughout the series, and I think until the last couple of days, there was a real good case for me to pull Eaton for Robles when he's 100%. But I still think I'd probably do it. There's no way Davey does, especially after the last couple of at bats Eaton's had.
Yeah, that triple kind of saved it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Otherwise, that trick would be being closer to pulled. Um, yeah, because what I think is if you do pull Eaton, you just shift everybody else up and throw Victor at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Rendon is batting 2, Soto's batting 4, and then on down the line stays the same until the 8th spot where Victor would be.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. I think like I mentioned like maybe you would Michael A's been so consistent that maybe you throw him two just for the speed, but I like the idea of Rendon two better than Michael. I think he just see even as good as Michael A's been, Rendon has the best at bats on the team probably. So
Yeah. But at the end of the day, Michael A is still a free swinger.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? Do you advocate that move or no?
My only my only hesitation is we don't know what Victor's going to be like when he gets back.
Yeah, I feel like
I think
in
like, and if that triple is like a starting point for Eaton, we don't know that yet. It could be, but that was a really good swing.
oh, so
Like,
it was, and he had a great at bat and a great swing. And my bigger concern with Robles was there. I think it was in game two. There was a situation where it was the when Matt Adams got on base that they did not pinch hit for him, and it was like if Robles was good enough to run, he would be, or somebody else would be if he was good enough to come into a game to play. It just felt like he isn't in a good enough spot to really play in a game. The Nats just don't want to share that yet.
same with Gomes in Game 5.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like you were telling me he would have been ready for Game 3, but you're like kind of holding off. But he couldn't pinch run for Gomes when Kurt got hit in the face.
Right.
That was like a little red flag there for me.
Yeah, totally.
But also, like, it feels like what they were doing with Victor is kind of like what, again, the Caps did with Backstrom when he got hurt going into the Lightning series. When they're like, oh, we'll just, whenever we lose, we'll put Backstrom in because otherwise we're just going to, if we keep winning, there's no point in him playing. I think they won. Didn't they win Game 6 without Backstrom? And then
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Lost 3, and then they finally put him back in. So I feel like it's the same thing. I think they're going to hold off Victor because it's a hamstring. Those come back all the time.
Right.
The longer amount of rest you can give him, the better chance that it won't happen again. And if they keep winning, just keep resting him.
Well, and even on the Eaton note, kind of.
Take like a week or two.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said hamstrings usually take about at least a week, but definitely 2 weeks to heal.
Yeah.
And still, by that point, there's still no chance it's not going to happen again.
Well, and I think the same note on whether or not you keep Eaton, and it's like, as much as I'd love to see Robles come back, it's like that's not happening until a loss, if it does, right? Like you don't switch up what's been happening for this team over the last 4 games, like or 3, like you don't change that.
Yeah, and I the only reason why I entertain it is because I prefer if Victor's just going to hit the ball and play and try to get on versus Eaton flailing wildly at the plate and striking out.
And all of a sudden he can't bunt either, which is also frustrating.
Yeah,
because he used to be pretty good at it.
Yeah, and it's been kind of frustrating that Trey's been kind of struggling too.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mention it. It kind of gets like overlooked because of how the games have gone, but he's been struggling a little bit. So the first 2 in our lineup have been kind of struggling, and so Anthony's had to lead off a couple of innings. Those are the innings we actually do damage.
Yeah, which kind of speaks to your point of shifting Rendon up in the lineup.
Yeah, because I mean, if he wasn't our best hitter, he'd be an amazing leadoff hitter. I've always thought.
Oh,
that.
Totally. I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm feeling good. I don't know. Who knows how we'll feel in 2 or 3 days. But this is up there in terms of how happy I've been with this team ever. And right now, this moment is got to be top 3. If not the best right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be the best.
This has to be up there and as happy as I've ever felt about sports, period. I mean, it's up there. It's real good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I repeat your sentiment. Like, it just feels like that's what I knew coming in as soon as Craig said he might not be able to do it. I'm like, well, it's going to be like Joe and I's moonlit walk that one
Yeah,
night.
that's exactly. It's
so yeah, it's always fun talking baseball with you, man. Especially in this type of situation where it just doesn't feel like real life.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just don't wake up from a dream.
Exactly. That's one of the things that I've been looking forward to most of all. About like once Craig was like, "Hey, let's get Johan on," I was like, "Yes, let's do that." So I've been looking forward to it too. And just for anybody out there listening, this is not like the new lineup. Craig is going to be back. He just wasn't available tonight. We wanted to be able to put something out ahead of Game 3, but we'll get all 3 of us together again. at some point soon, and you might catch just Johan and Craig at some point if I'm not available. But we're enjoying doing this, and how could we not with how this baseball team's been playing?
Yeah, man. Like it's worth the long nights. It's worth the long days. Like I, as tired as I've been, I've loved absolutely every minute of it,
Yeah,
and my kids have loved it too because I've been taking it really easy at
yeah, I
school.
bet. I bet. Well,
Like I think I got through like a reading lesson last time. I was like, well, I'm done. I'm tired. You guys can just make sure you're doing read a book. Go
yeah,
read a book for a
best teacher ever.
second. And they have no idea why because none of them really follow baseball.
Oh,
They're just
nice,
like, oh, okay, cool.
nice.
Just go off and do their thing.
Johan's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to doing this again um, in the near future. But yeah, pretty pumped about tomorrow's game. I'll be up in like the 2:30s, I think.
Well,
Um,
bring that luck, Johan. Bring that luck.
Trying. I've been pretty good so far.
Yeah,
I've come to Nats Park 4 times. One of them was an actual game, but I'm 3-1.
nice. Well, that's
So,
pretty good. I like
so
those
yeah,
odds.
yeah, my jersey's taking a beating, but
You got to do it though. Got to do it.
we'll do a whole other show on superstitious stuff.
Yeah, I know. Look, we were talking about that last night, and Lauren was saying something superstitious, and I was giving her a hard time, and she was like, "Johan and Craig will get my back," and she paused and said, "Johan will get my back."
No, I definitely do. We had multiple discussions back in the day. I think we watched the game together, and I tweeted it was Roark,
Oh,
and I
nice.
think he got through 8, and I tweeted my "It's Roark, not Roark" meme, and then he came back out, and I was like, "Oh, Lauren, I accidentally tweeted this earlier," and she gave me this look like I was dead in her eyes. I was like, "Damn, delete that real quick." So yeah, I know she gets it.
Oh, she definitely gets it.
Out of it, yeah,
Well, hopefully the next one of these we do, we're telling more happy stories, and if not, we'll have other things to say, I'm sure.
yeah, for sure, definitely.
All right, awesome. Thanks everybody for tuning in for this another impromptu playoff NLCS episode of Nats Talk on the Go, and we'll all talk to you at some point soon.
Later.